Our guest today, Bob McCormick, is the executive director for the Council of Institutional Investors. Over his career, Bob has worn many hats: investor, working for Fidelity, proxy advisor, chief policy officer for Glass Lewis, and working with corporates as a consultant for PJT Camberview. Today on realtransparentdisclosure.com. Bob, thanks so much for getting online here with us. You're such an interesting person. You have had such an interesting career, and now you're in a new chapter that's truly exciting. But can you share how your various experiences give you a unique perspective in your current role at CII?
Sure. So when I was considering, applying for the role of executive director, I kind of looked back on my background, and I realized I've been a member for over 25 years in various different roles. Initially at Fidelity Investments, where I was in the proxy voting team. The last 5, I was running that team. Back then, it wasn't glamorously known as stewardship or engagement. It was investment proxy research. But we voted all the shares on behalf of the Fidelity mutual funds. And then I switched to move to Glass Lewis and became an advisor to investors, making recommendations to investors on how to vote and engaging a lot with companies and investors on a range of governance, compensation, E&S issues, board directors, et cetera. And then in some ways, I sort of switched sides when I left to join Camberview, which was then got acquired by PJT. So at PJT Camberview, I was advising public company boards and executives really on a lot of the same issues I was talking to companies at both Glass Lewis and Fidelity. So in effect, I've been several of the different constituencies of the CII, or have worked closely with them over that 25 plus years.
Can you explain a little bit about what CII is for those that don't know? And also, people should go check out the website, CII.org. It's a great site with lots of content that might help you in your practice. But talk about how CII does foster community within the investor community and what it does.
Sure. So we're this Council of Institutional Investors, CII, is celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. So it was founded with the idea of allowing shareholders to work together on issues of mutual interest, particularly during the 80s when there was sort of a rash of green mail and other tactics that were applied to public companies that were detrimental to a broader shareholder class. So the idea behind the CII was to group together like-minded public pensions, union pensions, and corporate pensions to work together on a range of issues, really to educate, to advocate, and to engage. Educate through keeping an eye on pending legislation, regulation, hosting conferences. We host 2 large conferences a year. The spring one's always in Washington, D.C. The fall one rotates in different cities. This year it's in San Francisco. Last year it was Brooklyn. Next year, Boston. And in terms of the advocacy, we engage quite a bit with the SEC and on the Hill, really to inform them of investors' views based on our policies, which are approved by our members on a range of issues, compensation disclosure, director independence, et cetera. And then the last pillar is engage. So we really promote the opportunity for our members to engage together. And that's where the corporate side and the pension side get together and have dialogue. And our associate members include the biggest asset managers across the globe, as well as many non-US pension plans. So in effect, at our conferences, you have really the largest investors in the world, all in one place. And it's an opportunity for companies to engage with investors they might not otherwise be able to engage with, either because they're not based in the US or because of a smaller size, or they just don't have the resources to engage as, I would say, broadly or consistently as some of the bigger asset managers or even pension funds.
Yeah, I've attended the spring conference in DC a number of times, and it's unlike, for those that are in-house, unlike any other conference you've been to, because for one, the average age is people are generally younger. A lot of people that work for investors tend to be younger than those that are in-house. And then it's just obviously a different community. And so the topics on the panels relate to companies, but it's usually from a different perspective. And then just the networking is totally different. And I really love it. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think for some of our veteran members, the benefit they get is much more from the networking in between sessions than the actual sessions, although obviously the sessions themselves can be very topical. So, for example, we did a session on private investing. We did a session on cryptocurrency. We did a session on development of smaller nuclear power opportunities. And at last fall's conference, we had both Jamie Dimon and Darren Woods speak about the challenges and opportunities of those companies. So it provides kind of a good cross section of developments as well as sort of industry titans and well-known speakers.
So what are CII's priorities right now?
So we're looking at, I would say, three main pillars, and we really focus as a nonpartisan organization on promoting shareholders' rights. So in particular, looking at the opportunity to provide end-to-end vote confirmation in a proxy contest, which arguably the most important vote a company could face, as well as a shareholder vote that investor can make. Right now, there's less sort of end-to-end vote confirmation than arguably there should be. And this kind of came up in the Procter & Gamble vote, where there were some discrepancies around the final vote totals. We also are looking at when you have dual or multi-class share class companies, we're seeking that companies disclose on a class basis about how the voting went. So investors aren't forced to kind of, tease out or frankly guess what was the non-insider vote on a particular issue, which I think gives the company and other shareholders the view into really how the non-affiliated shareholders review a certain issue, whether it's on pay or directors, et cetera. And then the last major area we're looking at is when companies use non-GAAP accounting in their exec comp program, asking for more information of why that was done and how it actually impacts either the compensation levels or the decision-making or both.
And I should mention that there's content related to these priorities on your site. So for those interested in any of these topics, check that out.
Yeah, that's right. And we also keep track of what we call zombie directors. It's the very small number of directors who don't get a majority vote of shareholders. Under our current process, most of the directors submit a resignation, which for the most part are accepted. However, the small group of companies that have opted to, in effect, not accept the resignation and have reseated those directors. So it's a fairly small number of directors, but our members are very interested in knowing, are there directors who continue to serve even though they didn't get the majority support of shareholders?
Let's drill down a little bit into how public companies can get involved in CII. I believe there's membership opportunities. And can people that are in-house at companies attend a conference without being a member, or do you have to be a member?
You have to be a member. We do have people who are prospective members will come and kind of test the water, so to speak, and come to an event. But for corporations, if they have a pension program, they can join as members. And the benefit for the companies is that they have this opportunity to interact with a very broad group of either other companies that they can kind of share ideas with, share challenges and solutions. They can interact with major investors, both on the asset manager side. So really the largest investment managers in the world are at our conferences. And sometimes they've already met with or at least spoke with these individuals, but allows further opportunity to develop rapport and relationships that they can potentially draw upon if they need to, particularly during the proxy season. And as well as the public pension, union pension individuals who, particularly among the union pensions, some of those folks will submit their own share proposals. So it's a great opportunity for companies to kind of learn directly from the people who may be actually submitting share proposals. What their thinking is. Are there ways to address the issue so they're not they don't feel they have to submit a share proposal, and really just get a better understanding of sort of where shareholders are leaning, what they're thinking, and how they can best, provide some discussion or commentary that may address the concerns of the investors.
And then in wrapping up, as the transparency champion, I know that you believe in transparent disclosure yourself, given your role on the Scientific Transparency Committee. Can you briefly share your views about how transparent disclosure is good both for investors and for companies?
Yeah, I think it really is a two-way street. You know, the better disclosure, the more information that a investor has when they are going to make either an investment decision or a voting decision. And in my experience, having seen this in several different roles, the better information, the more information you have, you're much more likely to be able to support whatever management is seeking in terms of a transaction or director. In the absence of some votes, some information, an investor may be more inclined to stick more closely to the policy and maybe vote against an issue. Whereas if they have the opportunity to engage with a company, to refer to helpful information in the proxy statement or other publicly available documents, that can really help them make a better decision. So I've always felt, well, the more information you have at your that is available and usable, the better decision you can make. And it almost always is in management's benefit in terms of how the vote actually comes out.
Thanks so much, Bob. I love learning about CII. It's been great to see over my 30 years in the field how CII has evolved and continued to be a strong leader. And it's great that you're there now, wearing your fourth or fifth different type of hat. You've really had quite a career.
Thanks. Being bald, I need a lot of different hats, Brock.
Can never have enough hats. I know I need to keep, now I'm playing pickleball, they get wet and you got to buy a new one. It's a lot of work. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Brock. Appreciate the opportunity.